Hello and good evening, everyone. Let's see if I can set this to a reasonable volume here. Well, I definitely don't have all my settings set up correctly because I keep getting playback into my own headset, but I'll just mute myself and hope that it all works out for the best. Might mean that we won't have audio from the actual stream itself showing up, but I'm hoping that you can all hear me. In celebration, because apparently we've been talking about physics, well, I broke out my holiday shirt, so I have a chemistry shirt. Uh, so, welcome to our update. We haven't officially released it yet. It'll be coming out very, very shortly, but we now have the Pathfinder system to version 3.0.0 for the imminent release of version 9. For those of you who would like, we will be releasing it probably later today, maybe earlier tomorrow. Still a couple more things that we want to add, want to show you some fun and interesting things today. Some of the features that version 9 is bringing and some of the things that we've added into the system. Uh, for regular play, I'll say this is ready to use. If you're a little bit squeamish, feel free to wait a little bit longer. Most of the modules for the Pathfinder 2nd Edition system have been tested against version 9. They all seem to be working. I've got 7 of them installed today. And so why don't we show you some of the cool stuff that Foundry version 9 can do. So I'm going to load up a map that maybe some of you will see in the near future. Narchi was very willing, and I gratefully accepted his aid to make this particular battle map. It's a cave going to a scenario that's been designed by some of the developers and myself. But let's see a little bit of what we can do. So right now, this looks kind of like what you'd expect a normal battle map from version 8 to look like. We've got some torches going, they're blinking, but let's say we want to make that fountain a little bit more magical. One of the cool features we have in this version, if I add a new light, just drag it in. And so what I'm going to do is I'm going to set the dim radius to 24, the bright radius to 23 here. I've picked up a suitably blue color for the water, for magical water. And we'll just turn up its intensity a little bit. And we're going to give it one of the new animations. So there's a lot of really cool animations that have been built into the new version of Foundry. The one that I've chosen for this demo is the swirling rainbow. And then the advanced option, we're going to change this up to be an external color burn. So there we go. Now we have one magical fountain. So that's pretty good, but I think that we should have a combatant here for our eventual players to have to deal with. So I will happily pop open our brand new Battle Zoo Bestiary. If you haven't got it, it is now on sale and available to be incorporated into Foundry. It's got some pretty cool monsters. So today, why don't we try out the Irivern? Now, if we look at the Irivern stat block, one of the things that it has is a shimmering aura. And right now, the lighting on this, we don't really have a shimmering aura. So why don't we update that a little bit? So I'm going to add a little bit of lighting. The aura itself goes out 20 feet, so I can put in 20. For the bright, I want to make it nice and bright, leave a little bit of a border. Went through a little bit earlier and tried to figure out a color that makes me think Irivern. And so that's something along the lines of this. We'll just make it a little bit more intense. And we'll just slow it down a little bit. We don't want them to be excessively changing. But again, we're going to try one of the other interesting ones. This way we'll know exactly where the boundary of that is. So there you see our Irivern now has its aura around it and a nice a nice bordered boundary, a little halo around the outside to let us know exactly where the boundary of that aura is. So I promised that I'd introduce a couple of the new really cool features that we've that we've added to the system. So right now I've got my monster, I've got my cool magical fountain. What I don't have is anyone to show it off. So why don't we create a brand new actor? So Teamoon, why don't we pull in, well, we're obviously going to have a dwarf, so why don't we throw on a dwarf? Now you have to remember when you're creating a dwarf that the dwarf now, it either gets a clan dagger or a clan pistol. So I'll have to remember to add that in by simply clicking on the button that tells me whether I should add a clan dagger or a clan pistol. So there's our first cool little addition. Teamoon is a merchant. None of these are done yet, but I will certainly make them a magical merchant. What I can show you is when I added in the clan dagger, it added it automatically to my inventory. Finally, obviously Teamoon is a druid. So let's pull in our druid. Druid, animal order. Fantastic. So now I can go and I can check out, and there we go. I've got shield and shield block. I've got the druidic order with animal order and the bonus animal companion feat that you get from being part of the animal order all built in. So you can click to expand them. They add themselves automatically. The skill feat I have down here is from my background because as a magical merchant, I get Crafter's Appraisal. So all of that cool stuff happens. But I think that at level 1, Teamoon might have some problems. So let's pop it up to level 3. One of the cool other features we have now is keybinds. And so I've got a couple of keybinds in here. The first thing I did was bind the letter B to my compendium browser. So I can just hit B and opens up the browser. Again, not a big deal because we can just hit the plus symbols here, but kind of a neat thing to show off. So we'll search for Canny Acumen because obviously that's a great general feat. Right now I'm only trained in Reflex. I do not like that. So I drop it in and hey, I can make another selection. So I choose Reflex and it bumps it all the way up to plus 7 automatically. And it's put that into my general feat slot. I don't think that Teamoon should be going at this alone. So why don't we have Ticlo the Alchemist come along and help them out? So Ticlo is obviously everybody's favorite goblin, but he is an alchemist. So here's another one. I'm pretty sure that Ticlo is going to be a bomber like any good goblin would be because we obviously want to blow stuff up. And so we can see that already Ticlo has the quick alchemy action added on. And we can look in, he's got infused reagents, his formula book, advanced alchemy. And if we check it out, the formula book's also now in his inventory as added equipment. So all of this stuff now sort of happens automatically. Additionally, Ticlo, when he levels up, like any good bomber, well, it'll keep adding additional feats or features. So level him up to level 5, and there you go. He gets his field discovery, and it's already assigned as bomber. And if I go up higher to 11, you can see that he's got his perpetual infusions as a bomber. All of this stuff already set. Perpetual potency has been added on. So as we go on further and further, we get more and more of these features popping out automatically. So much like how on level up, the certain things like Iron will come in and they improve your saves, same thing will happen. If we look at Teamoon, so Canny Acumen, once you hit level 17, you become a master. So if we level up to level 17, you see, master and reflex added on. But we can go all the way back down to 3. Teamoon, of course, has shield block, so why don't we add a nice shield for them? Obviously a druid, so we're going to want the nice wooden shield. And then we can equip that on. So we can zoom in on both of our characters. So first you can see the dark vision definitely works. Once we deselect, all the saturation goes away. So Ticlo, blinded by the light, we can bring him a little bit closer, let him stand in the glory that is the fountain. But for whatever reason, let's say he's flat-footed. Well, another keybind that I've chosen to build in, F for flat-footed. So there's no module F for flat-footed installed. I just hit F and that popped up. I'm not quite as brave as Atro. I'm not gonna. Well, I guess I could. I'll bring up my keyboard. There's our F key, and no longer flat-footed. Uh, raising a shield, something that we do often. So why not bind R to it? There we go. Raise a shield. I try it with Ticlo, who doesn't have a shield. Well, it doesn't work. And again, it's definitely the same. I raise the, oops. I raise or lower the shield. It changes the armor class. So the macro that you had built in, it's not on the hotbar. I'm just pressing the R key. I will say that right now, adding these in requires a little bit of coding knowledge. It's not that simple yet. This is just sort of the test bed. But for seeing what all the keybinds are, you can go into the new controls. And so you see under general, I've now added these ones. I had to do that by hand for this world. So raise a shield, toggle flat-footed, open the compendium browser. I've also installed the PF2e workbench to mystify tokens. So over here, we drew out our Iravern, but chances are they probably have never encountered one before. So I can hit M and mystify it. And so now that they know that there is a Fey dragon. So another one of our cool modules that have been made, and I think will make their way into actually being built into the system. So I think that's all of the coolest stuff that we've added in. Hopefully that's a neat little preview of some of the stuff that you can come to expect. There's lots and lots to play around with in the new version of Foundry itself. Some of the lighting options are absolutely phenomenal. I spent probably 3 hours just playing around just because I can. With that, that's all I really have to show you for today. Um, maybe a little bit extreme, but thanks to Foundry, I can even the odds. I don't know, level 10, level 12, it's a little bit better. Yeah, so please don't think this is the end all and be all. Mostly what I wanted to show off today with the rest of the development team is that yes, Foundry version 9 works out really, really well. You know, there are a couple new modules that are neat. So I can do my unarmed strike. The chat damage card's another one that's likely to be included in the system at some point. For the GM and the affected player, you get the damage and the critical cards. For everyone else, it sort of disappears. Yeah, the blending looks really, really nicely. You can play around a little bit. You get some interesting effects. I was trying earlier with some of the other ones. Let's see if I can remember what I did. Which is kind of a neat one. Is it the color burn? So you can see where they intersect. You really get a highlight where it hits the dark areas of the map, and where it sort of bleeds in. And so they burn over top of each other. I think there's a lot of cool effects. I'm really looking at redoing some of my maps with sort of lava and lighting, and the blending itself looks absolutely phenomenal. You can see where it's added in, and then you watch as the saturation comes through, and you can see it really pulse. So I think that Atropos and the team did just an amazing job. The keybind stuff will be coming hopefully soon. We're still trying to figure out how we want to implement it in the system. Like I said, for right now, you sort of have to do a lot of manual coding to make this all work. I hope that you all found this informative and enlightening. I wasn't planning on doing a super long stream, so this is probably pretty good. It looks like most everything worked out on the stream. So for a first go, I'm going to take that. And otherwise, if anyone has any questions in Twitch chat, I'm happy to try and answer some of them. Oh, yeah, I could certainly show that. Well, good news is this is recorded on Twitch, so we'll be able to play. Can you assign vision types to NPCs? NPC has vision, so yes, you can. Battle Zoo when? It's already out. As you can see, I'm already using one of them. I have no idea how to post links or something up on here. Um, that'll be something for me to figure out later. Otherwise, it's definitely posted in the question. Were the class features automatically removed when you lowered their level? Yes, they were. Yeah, so the Battle Zoo bestiary is definitely linked on the Discords. I'm certain that somebody can even post it in the chat if they have the link offhand. But yeah, so here I'm at level 10. If I reduce Teamoon to level 3, you see that only the ones to level 3 exist. So it pulls it off. You can check all the modifiers themselves are reduced. And one cool thing, my general feat when I went from, if I go from level 3 to level 2, it'll pop into bonus feats because it doesn't fit anywhere anymore. Can you show how you did flat-footed, an example of coding? From OBS, no, I can't because I don't know how, but I can pop open a macro and show you what I did thanks to a little bit of help. So just give me 1 second to find the file. So what I did in the world folder, I created a file called keybinds.js. I edited world.json under scripts to reference it, and then I'll put it into the Twitch chat. It probably will look absolutely ugly, but this is how I registered the keybind. So you have to make a hook function that runs before the init hook, and then you put something like that in. So like I said, it's not something that's exactly user-friendly right now. It's something that we're hoping to make happen. One of the things that we're talking about as devs is a bunch of maybe all the ones that are built in the system, maybe just the common ones, creating these hooks built into the system with absolutely no keybinds. And then you can go in and choose which ones you want to bind yourself. You mentioned that the Mystified token module would be added to base. Would that be in the coming weeks or just when you get to it? It's going to be just when we get to it. It's like a lot of things. What we quite like right now is people who want to come up with really cool features, put them in a module first, and then let us bring them over. Because once we bring it over, it's something that has to end up being maintained, and it makes it a lot faster for them to bug fix as a module, because then it doesn't have to go through our normal review process. Once it's nice and stable, like a couple of these are, for instance, the chat damage card, then it's easy enough for to pull it into the code, or for us to have another implementation now that we know that it works, if that makes sense. Right, mystified items. So let me see if I can grab a piece of equipment. So why don't I put Abadar's flawless scale on the Irreverence? We'll hold down Alt, drag it in, and it's just an unusual object. It's mystified on the creature, ready for looting. It's handy to do for things like loot actors. You can just drag it in by holding Alt. Oh, can you assign vision types to NPCs like dark vision? Not at present, no. Sorry, I missed that above. Hi there, I'm a new player looking at getting into Pathfinder 2e and Foundry VTT. Where could I go to learn more about your implementation, such as token actions, abilities, and so on? Well, that's a longer question. If you want to read through the code, which is probably the least optimal way to do it, you can certainly go to the GitLab. Otherwise, I would highly recommend GM Steve's Recall Knowledge series. So there's a YouTube channel called Recall Knowledge. He started months ago playing Abomination Vaults with his regular group of players, and they transitioned over to Foundry, and he's been doing a bunch of quick tips, which are really, really helpful, show you how to do some very basic, very cool things, as well as he's built whole worlds. I will caution you that we do update fairly regularly, so some of his stuff's already out of date. It's sort of the problem with adding cool things. Otherwise, the Discord is a great place to get help and to ask questions, or head over somewhere like Cadence Keg, where we run a lot of Pathfinder Society one-shots and you can sort of learn organically as you play. Is Eidolon support coming soon? Uh, I'm not going to commit the person who's working on that completely, but their intent is to start in the new year to add it to the Animal Companion module, and then we'll go from there. Is the changelog being updated? It will be as soon as we release. So this is not yet released. This is still the development build. We do have to mint a brand new master for a new release channel. Like I said, we're going from 3.0 or from 2.20 to 3.0, supporting Foundry version 0.8 to supporting Foundry version 9. So the new version will have a new release channel. So if you want to stay on 0.8 at 2.20, you absolutely can. A bunch of these new features won't be available, but the changes that Foundry has done on its end for modules tagging and not updating too far, um, that is all in place. If you're on 0.8 and you try and update modules, chances are you're starting to get errors saying you can't update this any further until you hit Foundry version 9. Don't think that that means that you have to update right now. It just means that you won't get all of the changes that they've had to implement to make it work on Foundry version 9 or any new features. But if you're happy with the way things are, you can easily stay on 0.8 for a little while. Personally, I'm going to be moving my games over to version 9, but I also probably have a little bit of a different threshold for risk than most people. Uh, Dual classing. Do we want to do it? Yes. Does it require some more work and thought? Absolutely. It's not super simple because you have to balance things off. With ChoiceSet, the new rule element, it probably helps a little bit. Um, you can still do dual classing, you just have to drag things in manually, so it's just not automated, and that's the only problem. Um, Well, the only thing that's really waiting is the keybinds. We see version 9 as a way for us to eliminate a lot of the modules. As people know and I think love, we start drawing things out and reducing the number of module dependencies people have, because that was one thing, especially from the organized play community, that we heard very, very early, is that if you have to install 20 modules and they're different between installs, then we don't really want to do that. Otherwise, the big thing that version 9 has added is card support. So we will be able to do a lot of the variants of the Hero Point deck. We think that we can probably change up how we do a bunch of the other cards as well. We'll see. It's a longer project. It's not super high priority, but maybe something that somebody wants to try and pick up. Well, it depends. You could update right now if you wanted. If you would have to build from the development build though. Otherwise, you'll probably have to wait till later tonight or tomorrow to be able to actually play Pathfinder on version 9. So, like I said, this is version 9 right now. This is running. It's what you're seeing right now. Perfect vision won't be needed. Perfect vision still works. It still does some things. With version 9 and the changes to lighting, we might pick it up a bunch of the changes and start implementing them a little bit more in the system. We put it on hold because of the changes that Lightspeed used, and Lightspeed at this point is not needed anymore. So anyone who installed the Lightspeed module, at this point it doesn't really do anything for version 9, because as you can see, like, this is all native, all built in, all blends amazingly smoothly. Um, I mean, that just looks great, doesn't it? Yeah, the key binding interface does actually work. It's right here. So you can see there are the ones here that are grayed out, that you can't do anything with the keybinds. The ones that are light, you can change those ones. So you don't have to keep tab as tab, but you do have to keep delete as delete. I'm pretty sure that Atropos will show this all tomorrow. So I will say tomorrow there is a development stream uh, that is being run by Foundry. If I think that I made this channel host it, so if you've subscribed to this one and not Foundry for some reason, then it will crossplay or something. Matt was trying to explain it to me, so I did the thing, and we'll see if it works. You mentioned adventure you were working on. So we've made a Pathfinder Society-like adventure. I ran a bunch of the devs through it almost last Christmas. It's sort of been delayed. I've been finding a lot of other things to do. It's been very busy for me. But the adventure itself is written. Narchi has made me a whole series of maps. There's a couple of macros I think that we need to create, and obviously now I need to redo the lighting. We have someone who's willing to provide the tokens for token art, which is really, really cool. And so hopefully soon we've got some audio potentially lined up, and it's something that we want, but effectively it will be a band of Kobold pre-gens, because everyone loves kobolds, built along the lines of the Pathfinder Society, and with the Kobold Venture Captain Nico Hooking. How does tree-like view work for class features like the Druid Circle, Animal Companion? Uh, I'm not sure what you mean. How does it work? It's all a rule element that's built in. So there's a very specific rule element. It's probably not the best thing to get into on this stream. We will, however, update the wiki as soon as it's practical to do so to explain how to use it and how to grant items. So there's two new rule elements: choice set and grant item, and those let us do all the cool things that you saw. Any plans to automate encumbrance as an option? I'm a mean GM and force my players to be encumbered. I'd like to think so. I think there is actually one of the developers who's trying to work on it in bulk calculations, and it's not the simplest thing in the world. Yeah, so a lot of the reason is people don't like reading changelogs, so it's kind of cool if we can make a stream sort of like this. We'll try it out, see how it works. So you can consider this kind of a video changelog. It's definitely not going to cover everything. The changelog will tell you a lot of the little things that are fixed up. It would be hard to show every single thing that's fixed because we do hundreds of merges, and just the amount of data that gets added is rather astonishing. We definitely won't stop making changelogs. Please don't think that. In fact, what we have done that I think is a big change to the project is we're starting to enforce standards for the naming of our merge requests to make making changelogs easier. So if you go to a merge request, it will the title, if done correctly and accepted, should say exactly what that thing does. The rule element, the two new rule elements, change set and grant item, both are only going to be in version 9 on 3.0.0. It is not a released feature yet. It will be released, but it will not be backported to 0.8. Yeah, I suppose that's right. ChoiceSet has been live for a little while. Canny Acumen's been using it, but it was sort of buried and not talked about. So with that, unless I see any more questions in the next minute or two, hopefully you found that enlightening. Hopefully now you're really looking forward to what we've got. I will credit Michael Gelfi for the opening music. That was one of his Patreon-only compositions, The School of Magic, Part 2. If you liked that one, I did. I thought it was kind of fitting. Um, and Narchi made both the map as well as the new logo that we're using. So hopefully that looks okay. Is Pathfinder 2nd Edition ready for me to update to version 10? Go nuts. I will have to upgrade the flowchart, but I don't think the first even prototype of V10 will be out for a little while. I feel like maybe all of the developers of Foundry have earned themselves a decent Christmas holiday. Yeah, we have done a lot of data brush ups. The patch notes and the release announcement will highlight which books that we've done, but most of Ages of Ashes has been completely rebuilt. Most of the variant spellcaster dragons for Bestiary 1 are now in, so you'll have all of those at your fingertips. Yeah, and I think there's also a lot more cool news that hopefully we'll be able to tell you in the new year. Even most of the development team doesn't know what's coming down the pipeline for some of it, so it's kind of an exciting time. In any case, with that, I think I'll sign off right about now. We'll probably try and do another one of these next week. The 3.1.0 branch will be coming out very, very shortly with any fixes that anyone who plays with this reports, as well as the 2 new books worth of data entry, Lost Omen, City of Absalom, and Lost Omen, Monsters of Myths. Otherwise, yeah, we do hang out a lot in the Discord, so feel free to come ask your questions. We'll even think about taking suggestions. Otherwise, if you have features that you really, really desire that aren't already in the GitLab, feel free to add them there. Any bugs that you find, please let us know. Discord, GitLab, both great places. So with that, thank you all for attending, and I wish everyone a pleasant evening.